works and implementations needs to be done in order to create the federation, which by understanding their connections to the core services of EOSC, their interactions of data within that federation, with their interaction with the EU node and the services that are being about to be procured in the EU node. And finally, but not least, definitely the interactions between the nodes themselves, because between the communities and their infrastructures themselves. To achieve the last thing, the most important thing, we gathered the user stories, broke down into the user journeys, and understanding what services, what core services and user services will be needed to implement those user stories. And then we applied the shopping mall methodology, understanding every community's offering to the outside world. So every community listed what they can give to the outsiders. Then each community listed what they might need. And we mapped with the offering of the nodes themselves. So you can see ENES and Instruct Eric showing what they have to offer. And then ENES and Instruct Eric choosing from other nodes, other communities, what they might want from them. And in the end, everything was documented in a deliverable delivered by us in the EOSC Beyond, and even more importantly, the appendix to it, the complementary annex to it, where you can find all the details, which will be also presented by 5 of our communities right here in this session. And just in case you have any questions, you can reach us. There were supposed to be arrows. So this is Marta, me, and Kasia in the picture, so you can look for us and ask any questions if needed. So now please proceed without further ado to our first presenter from NFDI. It's going to be Tim Wenzel. So Tim, if you can approach the bench and show us what you have.
Yes. Thank you. All right, while the slides are being sorted out, hello, my name is Tim. I work for DAISY in Germany, Hamburg, and we are involved with the NFDI, the National Research Data Infrastructure. And we are building a pilot node, a national one for Germany. So first, NFDI itself is relatively new. It's been around for 1 year, 2 years, more or less. And it's consisting of over 270 institutes in Germany that are organized in 26 thematic and scientific consortia, as well as another consortium based for an FDI that focuses on delivering horizontal services that all of the other consortia will need during the time they are in place. So they cover all sciences ranging from humanities, social sciences, life science, engineering, natural sciences, and in the background, of course, making everything run is IT. So that's the base. And we will design our pilot node to basically cater to the German scientific community, to the German scientists and all of their collaboration partners, so they can really make use of everything that's being developed, and people can reuse services, share services with one another, which makes for more efficient resource usage. Right now, we're in the phase of taking inputs from the consortia, from the people that are involved with them, so we know what they need, what is useful to be implemented for them, because obviously we don't want to push services that no one needs. That would be a waste of resources, and that would go contrary to what we're trying to achieve. So looking at the scientific content as a first reach out, so to say, what we want to offer is, of course, a service catalog. And that's the most prominent one you see with a question mark, because we're not really decided upon the software or the product to use to show what we have. But what we want to offer is a help desk connection, of course, a GitLab to share code, to run CI/CD pipelines, containers, With that, Jupyter notebooks are a thing provided by Base for an FDI. We need a terminology service so that people can really have a central place to host controlled vocabularies, ontologies, and schemas, which feeds into the next point, which would be the data catalogs here, exemplary SciCat and CADI format. If you're interested in SciCat as a product, I will give a talk about that specific service tomorrow morning at 11 in San Marino over there. And of course, to tie it all together, you need to be able to transfer data and store it somewhere. So this is a basic first approach to which services we're going to offer to the community. And this will be enriched by further services, the more communities, the more consortia we get on board. If I'm not going to go through these points one by one, but we gathered some user stories. What is the most probable thing people would want to do in the beginning to get to know the concept of a node? You can see this in the slides, just maybe one thing. As a researcher, I want to find and explore published open data sets. So we will have these public data portals that offer data, that maybe offer a workflow engine like CADI format, where you can share your workflows, share your data, make it available to journal paper reviewers and maybe to other colleagues for them to reuse. So I think this is one of the ways to go, which reflects NFDI in the best way, to make data as a common treasure available to everyone. And next, with the integration. So our plans until month 16 of the project, which will be mid of next year, I guess, is requirements gathering, service gathering, getting to know our communities in Germany, because of course, I, as someone from DESI, do not know what the university in Wuppertal needs. So we'll have to talk to a lot of people, get to know them, get to know their needs. Second step until month 16 is going to be the AAI integration. This is realized via IAM for NFDI, which is located in Base for NFDI with an ARC-compliant AAI architecture as demonstrated by EGI check-in, Helmholtz ID, all the other federated AAI services we have in Europe, with the trust relationship and institutional and social IDPs being allowed in there to make use of services. Then we will set up a service catalog and a resource catalog to allow our users to see what we are offering, show how they can access things, and link to help and documentation, which will come with that. The help desk kindly provided by KIT. This should be integrated with the EU node, so we can take tickets from other nodes, may have some crude order management in the beginning. And then after that, we will integrate with monitoring, accounting, the interoperability framework. And these exact plans will have to be discussed after everything else, or when everything else is kind of ready. So you see a basic sketch of what we want to do for the AAI architecture. If you're interested in that, come talk to me, come talk to other colleagues that are here that are involved with that, because that would take too long right now. So thanks a lot for listening. That's it from our side.
Thank you, Tim.
Cheers.
Because Tim applied to the rules and was quick enough, we can have 1 or 2 questions before we let him sit again. Okay, so thank you. Maybe what I would like to underline also is that every user story that we depict on in the federation model, we want to see what the nodes need to do in order to achieve that goals collaboratively, because it's usually the case that as a single community, we can not fulfill all the details of our user stories. We want to check how others can help and how we can make the connections, how we can do the technical infrastructure or background infrastructure to implement the user stories that communities have depicted as the most important for them. And next is Fabrizio Antonio from ENES, and please.
Thank you, Roksana.
Your part. Thank you.
So good afternoon, everybody. I'm Fabrizio Antonio. I'm a junior scientist at CMCC. In this talk, I'm going to give you a quick overview about the ENES Data Space, one of the thematic nodes in the EOSC Beyond project. So as anticipated in my talk during the conference opening, the ENES pilot will be built on top of a previous research effort carried out in the EGI project, where CMCC and EGI collaborated in the data space area. The ENES Data Space represents a domain-specific implementation of the data space concept designed to tackle the main challenges and issues related to large-scale climate analysis. And more specifically, the ENES Data Space provides scientists with a complete data science environment on top of the EOS compute platform with ready-to-use dataset and software solution closely integrated with the computing infrastructure. The activities carried out around the ENES Data Space are strongly connected to the ENES community, the European Network for Earth System Modeling, which provides an umbrella organization for the European climate model community. Through the ENES infrastructure projects, ENES provides the European contribution to the ESGF, the Earth System Grid Federation, which is a data effort involving a large set of data providers worldwide and managing petabytes of climate collections from several projects, including the couple model intercomparison project. As already discussed yesterday, in the climate domain, indeed, CIMI plays a key role as it represents a collaborative framework for climate model experiment designed to reach the important goal of collecting output from global climate models and making them publicly available in a standardized way. This slide presents some key user stories identified for the ENES node, each one centered around a key concept. Data analytics, due to the increasing complexity in climate models and the growing size in research data, it's become important to have advanced compute infrastructure close to the data. And in this scenario, scientists may want to access a complete and pre-configured data science environment where everything is there: data, tools, libraries, and of course, compute and storage resources. Secondly, data catalogs. Data catalogs provides a centralized repository where users can access climate data from different sources. And therefore, they represent a convenient way to enable global collaboration by making dataset available to a broader research community. And that's why a research division may want to expose its data collections so that they can be easily discoverable and accessible from researchers. And last but not least, data provenance. Data provenance is key in terms of documentation, retrospective analysis, but also to foster data trustworthiness, reliability, and accuracy of the data. And that's why scientists running complex and AI-based workflows may want to enrich the experiment and the output product with the metadata and information at different levels of granularity. On the right-hand side of this slide, you can see the high-level architecture of the data space, which consists of several layers. And in terms of infrastructure, it integrates several open source services and tools, mostly from the EOSC ecosystem. Starting from that, this slide highlights the main core services that are planned to be integrated in the ENES Pilot Node. Among these, we have an AI solution to provide users with a uniform and easy way to access the data space service, service accounting for tracking usage of consumable resources across the federation, a service monitoring to ensure that the service and operational level agreements approved by the involved parties are met, for example, in terms of availability or reliability, and an orchestration service for provisioning, configuring, and managing resources and service on top of the federated cloud infrastructure. So based on the preliminary integration plan, this is how the ENES Data Space node will look like within the federation. At this stage, I think it's worth pointing out that we are still in the design phase. So this is just a preliminary view showing the potential integration with the core service of the EOSC Beyond sandbox. And the same applies to the interactions between the ENES node and the other pilot nodes, including the EOSC EU Node. By the way, we can distinguish between two roles for the ENES pilot node. ENES as a consumer, which means that it will integrate the core services and capabilities from other nodes into the federating, acting as a provider for those capabilities. And on the other side, we have ENES as a supplier, meaning that the ENES node plans to offer new capabilities that may be of interest for other nodes and for several disciplines other than the climate one. So more specifically, these slides briefly introduce the two new capabilities planned to be offered by the ENES Pilot node. We have a provenance service for tracking provenance in complex AI-based scientific workflows. This is a joint research effort between CMCC and the University of Trento, targeting data provenance compliant with the prof standard defined by WCC. And more details about the YPROF project will be provided in a talk scheduled tomorrow morning. And then we have a thematic data catalog built on top of the climate collections as a way to enhance data discovery and accessibility and promote interoperability. And in this regard, we plan to explore novel technologies, mainly in terms of data management and catalogs. The main idea here is indeed to enhance the data space by leveraging object storage solutions and related data catalog standards and specifications to improve data discovery, search, and access. So to conclude, in this talk, I briefly introduced the ENES Data Space, an EOSC Beyond thematic node for climate community. The ENES Data Space provides an open, scalable, and cloud-enabled data science environment on top of the EOS compute platform targeting climate community. The server integrates into a single environment climate dataset from well-known initiatives like CMIP, computer storage resources, and data science and machine learning tools. And it also leverages infrastructural components for the automatic deployment and orchestration of services. In the framework of the EOSC Beyond project, the ENES Pilot Node will test and validate the next generation core services delivered by the project, and at the same time will offer two new thematic services as federated capabilities to be integrated by other nodes into the federation. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabrizio. Do we have questions from the room? Yes, Kostas.
Hi, my name is Kostas Komados. I'm responsible for all package 7, 8, and 9 EOSC Beyond, which is the core capabilities. My question to you is, what do you expect to gain by integrating ENES as a node? What is the value you want to gain from this action? Yeah. That's one part of the question. The other part of the question is, what value do you expect to offer towards EOSC by integrating your services? What are the two thematic services you just suggested that you're going to be offering?
Okay, to answer the first part of the question. So I think that we start as a pilot use case, and then we'll try to evolve as a pilot node candidate to be integrated into the EOSC Federation. We want to strengthen the integration into the EOSC landscape by integrating new services that could be of potential interest for the community. And on the other hand, we want to offer new services that other communities, other disciplines can exploit. I mentioned the provenance service. I think that the provenance service provenance is key for reusability and reproducibility. So I think that could be important not only for the climate community, also for other use case coming from other communities. That's why we want to integrate the ENES pilot in order to provide new capabilities for other disciplines. Thank you.
One more time. Thank you, Fabrizio. Oh, Anka? Okay.
Thank you. Anka Hienola from Finnish Meteorological Institute. We are actually very strong in CMIP. So I was a little bit concerned that the Finnish flag was not there. Are you going to offer storage capabilities for the climate scientists? Because this is the main pain point for them.
Well, considering the current, we already have an instance, a deployment for the ENES Data Space, and we have a storage capacity where you used to offer a first set of datasets from the SGF. Of course, we may want to enhance these capabilities, including new datasets, and new efforts will go towards new storage technologies like object storage, a new solution to improve the access to this data.
On top of that, Anka, maybe I will also add that on the project level, we'll be also investigating the business models, because there are many communities who have, in fact, storage physically wise, but not necessarily know how. Of course, not all. And this is exactly the power of the Federation, to share things that are not necessarily common to everyone. But the question is about the model, right? How to do that? What are the technical integrations that are needed? But on top of them, operations around that and rules, licenses, access policies, this kind of things. This also needs to be addressed. But yes, we will check, but possibly use case by use case level, community by community level, and we will accept also communities interested in certain capabilities, and our nodes, pilot nodes, have to offer officially. And storage is for ENES one of them, but of course it will not be in huge quantities, but as a proof of concepts. At the beginning, at least. Consider also scientific projects which are very heavy in modeling data, and they don't have a place to put the data at all. So this is a general problem, and if you succeed to solve that, that would be a huge success.
Okay, I think we can start from this initiative to start investigating this point. Yeah.
Thank you for that. There will be also time for questions at the end of our session, but now just to make sure that everyone has their time, please, thank you, Fabrizio. Thank you, and please welcome Julio from LifeWatch to present LifeWatch perspective of the Federation part and their contribution and their plans.
Okay, thank you. So the idea of this talk is also to give some demos. So let's try to see how it works without the internet. I will try the best I can. So yeah, nice to meet you all. I'm Julio from LifeWatch, and today I will be presenting one of the key products that we have at LifeWatch and how it can be of a value for also the integration as an EOSC pilot node. And what is LifeBlock? LifeBlock is an environment for managing fair data. It's an environment for searching for data, having your own data, storing new data, and also generating data from workflow results that can be published in a fair way. For that, it has a lot of different key aspects. First, it has a simple search engine that is used to find federated data from different data sources, and also our in-house stored data using a single harmonized result, a single metadata format that encompasses a lot of databases that I will show you at the end of the presentation. Second, the data that is stored in LifeBlock is strictly fair in the meaning that you can find all the data, you can reuse all of the data because of this aggregated metadata schema. And also it's accessible to researchers without depending on a specific infrastructure, because it can use an IPFS based and blockchain based data storage for having a really long-term data and decentralized data storage. And next, its blockchain system is efficient. It's based off proof of authority, and it can provide traceability while having high data availability in the distributed way. This system is also integrated with other LifeWatch services, such as the execution of workflows in our workflow engines. And also, it can be used to certify, and this is the interesting part also of the blockchain, it can be used to certify the results of a workflow. So you can certify that you access data from JB, for example, at this date, you use this in this workflow that was published by this researcher, and then the resulting data is this one that is available without our intervention in a distributed way. And also, there are many potential integrations with EOSC. We already, for example, all of our services are available through EGI check-in already, and we are following this federation as an EOSC Pilot Node, because we find it interesting to provide this fair data search and storage capability and workflow management capabilities. And one of the key parts is to use identity management coming from federating it from EOSC. This is the data architecture from LifeBlock. I won't cover it into much detail, but basically we feed our database between datasets from outside and datasets from inside. We have a federated search that searching right now 7 databases, and we will be adding more and more until the end of this year. And we have everything indexed in a common place where people can search for the data in a really easy and convenient way. Our target community is for researchers, policymakers, and developers. Researchers have more or less the questions that we have been seeing today. They want to find data easily and to use their data in a workflow environment in a simple way. Then they want to share the data, for example, resulting from a workflow with other researchers. And they also want to publish it in knowing that it's published in a fair way. Then policymakers want to use this kind of data and workflows to make decisions, but decisions that are backed by certified results. So it's not only trust me, I know what I'm doing, but also that there is a chain, a system that says that everything that is happening here can be certified and is certified by the whole system. And then they can reuse this to measure the value of different initiatives. And finally, for developers, we offer tools to make it easy to develop and publish new contracts in the blockchain, to provide new ways of doing data validation, certification, and etc. And now I have user stories. I will only, I want to make some live demonstrations for these stories, but I will only show you the first demonstration because I can have it without internet. But the other ones, please go to any of these web pages. They are already open. You can simply log in with EGI check-in or with Gmail if you are not comfortable with that. And you will see that they are very easy to use. So this is our search engine. It's a front end for our search engine that we have designed to be extremely easy to use, but also very powerful if you want to make more advanced searches. So for example, let's say that I want to search for data that are in Andalusia, okay? I already made the click before, so now you have here the results, but in general, this only takes a couple of seconds. And I have searched for data in Andalusia in a lot of different databases. In our case, JBIF and Zenodo are the main ones that will be appearing, but we are already bringing 100 results of the 154, so it's easy to navigate. So you can see here that in a simple metadata format that you will see this page for any dataset that you are looking for. We are already covering whatever we can find in all of these web pages. We're already covering the URLs of the data, different description, title, the users, how the taxonomic coverage works, and so on, in a single place. So you don't have to be getting in and out of different pages. And also here, if you want to make some advanced search, so for example, let's say, hey, I don't want to search for data in GBIF, I only care about data in Zenodo or in LTER, then you can particularize the search, also add the different filters that they allow you to have. I don't need to move between platforms because all of this is already available for you in an easy way. So if I want to search for Netherlands data here, I already made also that search, and you can see here the results. So anything that you can find in the metadata coming from Zenodo, we also mapped it beforehand, and you can see the result in a unified way. And this is always the same for all of these searches. Now, the next part that it's also interesting that you do it in your phones or in your laptops if eventually you have internet, is that this data that you have searched here for, you can search it, you can find it in LifeBlock, and in your user account, you can save the data set to your account, and you will produce a token with that data set. So now any operations that you do in our workflow platform, in my LifeWatch workflow platform, where you can already use that data that you find in LifeBlock, or all of our systems are connected. So you will find that that is a very easy thing to do. You can execute workflows with the data that you already retrieved. And with that, publishing a result, giving proper credit to everyone, and using the, giving proper credit to everyone, and having something that can be reproducible in a very simple way, it's possible. So now, regarding integration with EOSC, we already integrate our services, for example, with EGI check-in, and believe that integration is the key way of providing this kind of services. Our roadmap includes things such as reusing and sharing data, not only for public data, but also data that may not still be publicly available. So reusing data before it's published in the blockchain and the distributed storage service, and also interacting with the other EOSC resources, such as, for example, workflow executions in other platforms, and also retrieving workflows and merging them with our workflow executors, and also interacting, allowing other EOSC resources to interact with these resources that we provide, such as LifeBlock, the workflow engine, and so on, because we can provide this kind of, for example, the certification functionalities as a federated service. And regarding federation, we are already a key component to bring harmonized data from all of these sources. Okay, so GBIF, Zenodo, LTER, OBIS, Disco, Redian, which is a national one in Spain, and also from other LifeWatch services. And in the coming months and weeks, you will see EMONet, Pluto F, Dataverse, and much more to come to be integrated in this single search. But also we can offer an added value, that is that since we are a blockchain-based deployment in the LifeBlock part, we also can offer Web3-based authentication. We are also already able to do that. And we can open the way to provide this authentication as a service also as a EOSC pilot node. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I don't know if we have time for questions or.
Do we have any questions from the audience?
Nice to meet you. Okay, I have a question. Maybe you can return to the slide. They have a connected different kind of partners and future.
I think they dropped me out.
Okay, my question, actually in this search and connection data, you use this already defined schemas and metadata schema. What happens? How do you integrate new, for example, experiment, new research area where still it's not defined? Do you have procedure to develop metadata schema?
Yeah, in our case, this federation, but the metadata schema that we develop is, of course, trying to encompass a lot of the already available and for us trusted schemas. But it's for sure that there is the problem that if we try to add every kind of a schema without having some harmonized result, then we could find us in a situation where, because of removing this, how do you say, adding this freedom, people will have problems with dealing with the metadata. Okay, so for us, for now, it is still more important to have a common metadata format that is able to be reused for researchers than to add all of the in development metadata formats. But the good thing is that for us, it's very easy in general to add a new metadata to this common format. So it's something that whenever we see that something is mature enough, we can add in a couple of weeks, or so it's not a big effort to do that. Yeah.
Thank you, Julio. Do we have any other questions? No, thank you. We are perfectly on time. Thank you one more time. And now please welcome Miroslav Ruda from e-INFRA Czech node that will present that, and Miroslav will present e-INFRA as one of the possible national nodes and national technical node in EOSC Beyond, with their inputs and their goals and ambitions in the federation.
Okay, so good afternoon. My name is Miroslav Ruda. I'm from CESNET, and I'm representing another national node or pilot for national node. It will be very similar to German node, so I will give you just sort of our explanation what we are doing and show you some differences, but the main cases are more or less very similar. If I can. My second slide. I'm representing here CESNET, which is currently National Grid Initiative leader in Czech Republic. We are representing Czech Republic in EGI, but what I'm presenting here is work of e-INFRA. It's e-INFRA CZ is Czech infrastructure, which covers all grid clouds, but also data storages and also the IT for Innovations supercomputing center. So we are the only one infra in Czech Republic responsible for all this stuff, including EOSC and so on. We are national node, so our primary target are our national users and they are collaborators from abroad and so on. But we are also responsible for providing resources to different infrastructures and European infrastructures, and that means that we have to be integrated with Europe too. Still not. And one difference between the old grid infrastructures and the EOSC one is that we are planning also integrate resources or services which are provided by different organizations than these three which are enlisted here. The basic structure of if our services will not surprise you. We provide and we will provide in the pilot standard infrastructure computing services, OpenStack, Kubernetes, HPC clusters. We provide also some high-level computing or productivity services, namely Jupyter Notebooks and Use Galaxy instance running in Czech Republic. Those services are already integrated in EGI, so we expect that there will be natural step from EGI to EOSC Beyond and then to EOSC infrastructure, but you will see some nodes. And then again, we have a standard file sharing services. Those who were listening today morning presentation of EOSC EU Node, those services like OnCloud of sync and share based on OnCloud and large file sharing. We are providing on national level more or less the same. So we are going to integrate it and play as a pilot for these two. And then one not so common, but at this area, but we are providing it. We will start providing it for next year. Are data storage services, data repositories, and metadata catalog. You have seen again several times already on these presentations. So what we are currently building in Czech Republic is something which is really infrastructure across Czech Republic, providing one storage platform which is distributing across Czech Republic, a platform which will run different repositories. Here you can think about thematic repositories, repositories provided by different scientific groups. We provide just a platform to allow this. And these users can be those users which will be outside of CESNET or e-INFRA, but will be willing to provide this service, this repository to the EOSC. I've tried to simplify the user stories to one slide, so it looks like very stupid and very easy user stories if you read this way, but we need some integration of AI, we need some integration of those thematic repositories provided to the EOSC, and this is what we don't have. So this is something we should be working on it. Then we have some cases for missing resource catalog in our installations again. So again, we are looking for some solution from EOSC Beyond, start it, develop it, integrate it, and provide it for the rest of our users. Concerning the integration, we are currently already running national AI, so we are looking for some reasonable integration. Again, we are already integrated with should not be surprising that we will go this way via EOSC Beyond, but because we are also providing Jupyter Notebook service in López 3, so we are AI which is currently used or will be used in EOSC EU Node, so we might have a even faster integration directly to EU Node. Then the next step for us should be discussion and implementation of accounting and monitoring integration, because currently again, we are integrated with accounting and monitoring of EGI, but playing a role node, we are expecting services on national level, then those should be somehow integrated to Europe. With EGI, it's easy. We will easily publish all the same data to the EOSC and we are done. No, we should run national instance and then discuss the integration. Very similar case is helpdesk, because we are running national helpdesk. National infrastructure is providing national helpdesk. We were integrated with EGI, with GIGAS. And again, we will do more or less the same story on the same case with EOSC Beyond and EOSC EU Node. Again, we are providing resource already, some services into EOSC EU Node. So our helpdesk might be faster integrated to EU Node than to Beyond, but we will see. And we have some chance to develop something new here in this project, because what we should provide in EU Node are really stable services, not too much to develop something new. As I said, we don't have a resource catalog similar to German case. We currently don't provide, no, don't have anything running as a resource catalog. So we are looking for some Beyond solution, try it, integrate with our services, and then integrate it to EOSC. And something which was not mentioned in this presentation too much is that, yeah, we are also willing to play a pilot for something which is that we have a compute resources, and we want to provide these compute resources for the services which are already or will be provided on EU Node. So you can imagine that EU Node is ready or should be ready to include not only those cloud providers which were selected, but also national providers for national users. So we can play this role as a pilot too, because we have such resources. We are going to test some integration. Just one slide about the federation. I'm trying to distinguish between integration and federation. Integration means that all data will be collected somehow, somewhere centrally, and then you can query. Federation means that those data are not published to the central, and if you central storage, and if you do some queries, something, you have to really query distributed. Which, for my case, for example, is pretty easy or pretty explanatory for AI. We will provide national AI. We will not rely on the only one European AI. So we will provide something which is responsible for authentication of Czech people, and then it will be federated. For me, it looks like that, for example, the accounting should be the same case. We will probably not be able to publish accounting of all our jobs, VMs, and so on, to somewhere, somehow, to the Europe, to the central database. So again, we will have something running on national infrastructure, national database, and then we will publish data only, for example, to the users, to our customers, if they have an agreement with us, how much storages or CPU hours or whatever we won't provide, we should show them any accounting that we did, what we promised. But it's not integration, it will be, again, mostly federation. And as I said, we are looking for the resource catalog and help us too. And that's it.
Thank you, Miracle. Do we have questions from audience? Nope. So I will have a question regarding your computing and storage resources, because the thing is the integration versus federation, especially for the core services like monitoring AAI. We have to remember that there are two different scenarios. One scenario is about I am a node, I don't have my own technology for the monitoring capability. So I want to use the, let's call it the central one in the EU node. So please allow me to use it as a service. That's fine. That's one scenario. But the second scenario is about federating these core capabilities from the user perspective, for the user's sake. So if the user, in the end, in the federation is about the user ease of use of the resources in Europe. So when the user comes and in the end is allowed to use the resources from other nodes than his original node, the user should be able to see the monitoring data of your services. And that's why we need the federated monitoring service to exchange the monitoring data.
Yeah, but I guess that will be exchange of monitoring data, not that there will be one and the only one monitoring service for Europe.
Exactly. Yeah, but what is needed?
As a national node should monitor what we are running to be able to prove that we are running it with correct SLA and so on. And yeah, we will publish the results or monitoring data to customers, to other users, and so on.
Yes, and do you agree? Like, because in the pilot notes, what we have done is understanding exactly that one thing is to take interest in the service provided by the EU node, that one of the core services provided by the EU node. That's one question to be answered from the pilot perspective. But the second perspective is, am I willing to interconnect my core services with their data, like monitoring data, accounting data, catalog metadata, to allow the metadata exchange in the federation? And my question is, in your pilot note, do you think that for you it will be okay to exchange this kind of data within the federation for the sake of the user experience from the researcher?
User experience and so on, at the monitoring level, for sure, yes. On the accounting level, I'm not able to tell you, even from stupid GDPR point of view,
I know.
I'm not able to publish data from Czech Republic about usage of real users, real usage of real users to somewhere to Europe. So we should be really careful what we are really able to share.
Yeah, so this is something we need to pass somewhere higher, right? Okay, thank you, Mirek, very much. We will move to our last but not least interesting presenter, which is John from CESSDA. Please welcome John Shepherdson from CESSDA, who will present CESSDA perspective on the EOSC Federation of Nodes.
Okay. Good afternoon. So as said, I'm John Shepherdson, and I'm going to talk to you about the CESSDA Pilot Node. And for those of you who are good at spotting patterns, you'll know that for the last 4 presentations, there's been something on scientific content, target community, user stories, integration and federation. Hey, guess what? I'm going to use the same pattern for my talk, so all is well there. However, unlike some of the other presentations, I have good news and bad news around the idea that a picture is worth 1,000 words. I have no pictures. That's the bad news. Good news is there's less than 1,000 words. So, okay, so the scientific content, CESSDA, Consortium of European Social Science Data Archives. It's an ERIC, and it provides a number of services centrally, and one of those is a metadata catalog, thematic catalog of social science digital objects held by the service providers. So there are over 20 service providers in European countries that are members of CESSDA, and most of them have their own catalog of digital objects. The metadata in DDI codebook format is harvested and kept centrally in the thematic catalog. And so researchers can either go to the central catalog, find what they need, and then jump off to the individual service provider that holds the data, or they can go direct to the service provider and search and find the data there. So the three main use cases that we're interested in are resource usage tracking. So the service providers can see, especially when people are coming through the centralized catalog, who's looking at their data, who's using their data. Single sign-on. Again, if we've got 20-odd distributed catalogs, wouldn't it be great if a researcher could come in using single sign-on and get data from any one of those catalogs? A lot of the data is open and no authentication is required. But for some of them, restricted resources, then single sign-on would be a boon. And finally, PID registration. Not all of the CESSDA service providers mint their own PIDs and attach PIDs to their metadata records. And it would be great if all did. So we're interested in that too. So there we have the target communities for these three use cases. Unsurprisingly, there's a lot of overlap between them. They're basically either service providers or some type of researcher or research community. And then for one of them, there's commercial users. But otherwise, it's very much as you'd expect. So the user stories for each, for the tracking the usage of the resources, calculate the costs, and at some point in the future, passing those costs on to the commercial users. And so the user journeys, as you'd expect, register with the EOSC Beyond accounting platform, configure the exchange and access of data, and then use the dashboards that are provided or will be provided in order to see who's using what. The main challenge here, of course, is the unification of the usage data. If we've got 20-odd service providers, the chances of them all providing service descriptions and usage data in the same format are fairly slim. So I guess the challenge there would be for CESSDA to centrally harmonize that and then pass that through the accounting platform. Second user story for single sign-on, then clearly, as I hinted at before, if you're a researcher and you want to get data from the CESSDA service providers, it would be great to have a single sign-on, so you only had to sign in once, and then wherever you wanted the data from within the CESSDA ecosystem, you could get it with that single sign-on. But also beyond that, if you want to dip outside of the CESSDA world and get data for your project from elsewhere within the EOSC Beyond community, again, single sign-on, just the thing for that. And the challenge here, of course, being the secure and seamless integration of the institutional credentials. And for the third one, for the PIDs, as I say, not all of the service providers currently associate PIDs with their data collections. So for those who don't, then we would want them to mint a PID, assign it to a digital object, include the PID in the metadata, of course. And then here's the ideal bit. The researchers cite the PIDs. They cite the data and they include the PIDs. And then once they've done that, we can use citation tracking tools to see where this data is being used in the research community. And technical challenge being just integrating PID systems with existing infrastructure. So for the integration part, resource usage tracking, well, the service accounting and the research product accounting, that'll be provided by EOSC Beyond. For the access to digital objects, the SSO, then the AAI proxy and the Federation Discovery Service, the where are you from? And then PID registration resolution, unsurprisingly, the PID service. So in terms of federation, well, the CESSDA thematic catalog is where we're concentrating our efforts. There are other services that would be of use to the wider community, such as the Control Vocabularies Service, and even the ELSE thesaurus. Good to make that data and those services more available to the social science researchers. Also through the Federation to make that available to a much wider community through EOSC Beyond. And then when you get into the additional services that are available through the marketplace, the idea that you can then compose for either one-off or repeated workflows using some or all of the CESSDA offered services. And that's it, less than 1,000 words, I think.
Do we have any question for John from the audience? Yes, Yuri. Here comes the mic.
I have a question. Actually two questions, but one may be very simple answer. You mentioned on one slide that you do PID integration. What kind of PID information you need? Is it much connected to metadata, a metadata schema, PID, or it's just a string that it identify the data object?
It's just to identify the data object and then to include the PID within the metadata description.
Okay. So
in this case, is DDI metadata.
It's linked via metadata. Okay. And my question, you mentioned federation and federation of different sources. Does it mean that you federate sources connecting schemas? Or another example, if the metadata semantics has the same name, but relation between different component of data object are different, do you consider these issues?
We've already done the federation to some extent within CESSDA, in that we've harvested the metadata from the service providers and we've unified it into a central thematic catalog. So we're talking about making that central thematic catalog available to the wider EOSC Beyond Federation.
So you have proceeded to harvest and structure metadata?
Yes, yes.
Oh, this is very interesting.
Yes, yes. We use OAI PMH to harvest the metadata.
Okay, thank you.
Anka is having her head and.
Hi, John. So why CESSDA and not SHOC? What is the advantage of having the CESSDA node versus the social sciences and humanities cluster node?
I'm very glad you asked me that question. I'll see you outside. So I'm speaking at the moment in terms of a node defined possibly as a data source. At least that's what I thought I was until I listened to one of the presentations this morning, where the nodes seemed to be data sources and the definition of data source wasn't very clear. But if we go to a world whereby a node is a primary object and a data source sits behind it and provides content into it, then I'm speaking here about CESSDA as a content provider to a node. There is some talk, I know, of a shock node, which CESSDA would be one of the contributors to. I think that's got a little longer to run because it becomes more difficult then in terms of legal entities. CESSDA ERIC is a legal entity. Shock, as far as I know, isn't a legal entity. And although we haven't got all the details in terms of how you register and what you have to do to register to be a node, I think that's a potential difficulty to be overcome.
If I may add, John, I think, Anka, what is important here, that what you are asking is a very important question, but it's more about governance, policy, and the business model of the federation, which is not, in my opinion, don't cite me, not known yet. So what we are trying to solve here mostly is how to, on a technical level and operational level, exchange capabilities between communities, which we happen to call pilot nodes, right? But in the end, it's about showcasing scenarios like John was showing about the federated catalog for a given scientific discipline, the same federated catalog from LifeWatch. For those, and this is Yuri coming back to you, which are very easy to grab solutions for a certain problem to solve. The next level is about federating catalogs between themselves with different metadata schemas, semantics, ontologies. This is something we'll be trying to crack on the use cases gathered in the project. We'll definitely not crack the whole crosswalks for every scientific discipline out there, or give you, or I imagine maybe we will, but then it will be great, but not as much. So definitely more use case by use case approach rather than generic solution to fix all the problems, because generic solutions for those, and we've learned it already, are very hard to obtain and usually serves not that many people. So, right, I think in EOSC Beyond, what we try to do is exchange what we have among our partners and among people who want to come and join our activity, and see what can be practically done to integrate our strengths and our resources that some other communities might not have, and do it. And regarding, and one more thing, that model-wise, it's not said that there might be CESSDA and shock nodes at the same time. It's a possibility with different goals, different purposes. I think it is a possibility. Why? I don't know.
Just to be clear, I don't speak for the shock node.
Exactly.
I hope my answer was theoretical enough for you.
Okay, do we have any more questions from the audience? No? Fun. John, you don't go away, because what we will do as the last activity here is to ask one question to all the representatives of the pilot nodes we have in the room. So John, you will be the first because you are already here with us. Thank you. And the question is, please imagine that you are about to start. Too loud? Yeah, or maybe if you will be so kind to join us on the stand, the representatives of the pilot nodes, including Metro Food, because you are here so I can see you. So I will ask a basic question, but it's still a question that has no answer. So I would like to know your perspective on that matter. So imagine you start giving resources to the external users. So please give me your analysis, or what you can give to the external, to your community, to the user external to your community, under what circumstances, or under what restrictions, if there are some, and please try to be specific up to a type of resources, because if you have data that is available to everyone, just say that you have data available to everyone. But if you have services that are currently restricted only to your community, please try imagine what would have to happen to open it up to to users outside of your community.
Okay, for CESSDA, we don't have services that are restricted just to the CESSDA community. So in theory, the thematic catalog, access to the vocabulary service, access to the European language thesaurus, and it's under development, but when it comes on stream fully, the European Question Bank are all accessible to both the CESSDA community and the wider community of researchers. Though the data behind those things, for the actual data collections, then some of them are restricted. Again, as far as I know, the restrictions are just researchers, not CESSDA. I mean, there's no such thing as a CESSDA researcher. There are just researchers. So in effect, no. You have to register, you have to authenticate, but you don't have to be primarily associated with CESSDA in order to access the digital objects.
Sorry, just to follow up on that. If we have a federation of the AAI, so one does not register to CESSDA, but you will have the IDP from CYFRONET, and we are part of the federation. You are part of the federation. Will someone from CYFRONET, because we are in a federation together, will someone have access to your data then, or what will have to happen?
Provided that their metadata attributes show them to be a European researcher, and I'm not even sure if the European tag has to be there, but a researcher, and they want access to the data for primarily non-commercial use in the first instance, then as far as I understand it, they should be able to have access to the data behind the metadata.
Thank you, very important. Tim, you're up next. And thank you, John. Please give applause to John for today. Thank you.
So I guess it's the same question. So there will be open and public data. So that's done. You can log in using a social IDP, using your institutional IDP. You get access to data. So that's fine. We will have possibly restricted or embargoed data as well. And they will have to be associated with a virtual organization, I guess. That's the model we're driving in Helmholtz at the moment. And I think this is something we can extend to the pilot node for NFDI. So you'll have to join a virtual organization, which is led by someone in the German community. And like that, you will gain access. So you need some contact. You need to be a collaboration partner in order to gain access to data, services, and so on and so forth.
So that may be tricky. Would you be able to change your ways of operations in order to adjust to the federation needs? Because if on the AAI level, because it's again about the AAI, right? We decide that VO approach is not the way to go. Would you be able to adjust for the sake of creating the federation? Because we are talking now on the verge of technicals, the details, but also some process decisions.
Right. I guess so. I'm not sure what it would be on a technical level, what you're describing. If you say VOs are not a thing, then what else would we use? But if that's within standards, I guess the authorization model can be adapted.
No, I'm just asking the questions to understand how really feasible is creating the federation, because it's not only about, we know that technically everything is possible, but in the end we need to agree on certain ways to proceed to be the federation. Okay, thank you, Tim, very much.
Sure.
Julio?
Okay, so in our case, specifically when talking about LifeBlock, everything in LifeBlock is already designed to be open. So there is no restriction into what one user can access or not. If I broaden up a little bit, I'm mostly related to the execution of workflows. So there we are dealing also with user data that may not be published yet. In that case, and what we are working with actually, at least in the integration of the EOSC key clock, what we are doing is trying to follow this organization and group schema where people already, depending on where do they belong in the common AAI, we give them access to share data between organizations or whatever. So if somebody is already authenticated coming from the common AI, they should have access to whatever data their user in LifeWatch already has, and calls that come from outside. If they are authenticated, of course, they should be able to access that data. I mean, in our...
The same applies to all services of LifeWatch? The same?
I mean, we have a lot of services. I
You
think
have
it
a
applies
lot.
to the main ones. It applies to the LifeBlock service because it's fully open. It applies to the workflow service. I wouldn't speak of the notebook as a virtual research environment service because...
And that's the most interesting one because that's the costly one.
The what?
That's the costly one. That's the one that costs you.
Well, I
more
mean,
money.
you can run some big workflows in the... so you mean now about resources, not about data, but about
All kinds
computation
of
resources.
Yes, all
okay.
kinds of them.
Yeah, in that one, and I think that will be a common policy because at the end they run all in the same infrastructure. Regarding resources, computation resources, right now what we have is a free-for-all plan, but at the moment that you reach certain unfair usage of the platform, then we send you an email. But in general, what is gonna be is a pre-limited, just to be sure that nobody runs anything super super big. So in case that it's justified, then we allow it, of course, but we don't. So it will be the same limit that we already have for all of the users in a default scenario, which we expect is good enough for everyone to run normal workflows. But yeah, I mean, of course, we don't plan for anyone to come here and say, hey, I want to store 5 petabytes. Please, maybe you should go through some process or whatever just to know what we are doing. But yeah, that's regarding the computational resources. And I think that's the same problem for the Naviary and the workflow execution in my LifeWatch, because they share the same infrastructure and they share the same common idea behind. Actually, one will be feeding the other at some point.
So in general, you're open to everyone.
Yeah.
That's okay. Thank you very much. Fabrizio?
Well, I believe that fairness and openness are two pillars in the EOSC landscape. That's why we identified, for example, in the thematic catalog, relevant service to be federated, because we would like to open data to other communities. I think that this is key in terms of collaboration among communities in order to, for example, share or tackle some common issue requirements or challenges. And similarly, I think that open federated services, like, for example, the provenance service to other communities, can help in advanced research and face similar challenges. I think that provenance is important to address challenges about fairness, and that's why we believe that could be useful for other communities other than the climate one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
And here we have Carl from Metro Food.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, I'm the new kid on the block. Carl Presser from Metro Food, and we're a research infrastructure in an early implementation phase, just that you can understand where we stand. So I like the question because it's very debate at the moment in our research infrastructure. The plan is we're opening the services and the data to everyone. So make it as open as possible, right? As EOSC is the word saying. But yeah, this is the plan. But when it comes to reality, we had the first discussion. So maybe one benefit is in Metro Food, we not only offer the services and data to the researchers, but also to the food producers, right? So we're dealing with it with the food science, so also for the food producers and for the end users, and also for the government. So the policymakers also need the data for some regulations. But in reality, yeah, there were some restrictions because first of all, there were some consumption data. So if we know what people have eaten, right? So we have all the information, we know their diseases. So there's very health related data, which is confidential. So there we have to be very restricted, right? So anonymize also the data or pseudo-anonymize the data. And so there's clearly restricted access to this one. In the physical services, there seems to be very open. So I think there is less restrictions, just depending a little bit on the purposes of the users, right? But in the data, it's just at the moment we see only sensitive data to be restricted. All the other data, when it's all about the food, there's no sensitivity, so we can make it open to everyone.
Thank you. And Miroslav, and in your case, because you're in the e-INFRA, maybe you're a national node, but very highly involved with the e-INFRA part of the resources. So can you please focus on the computational and storage? Because
yeah, but first the data part is more or less the same cases like previous speakers. Those thematic repositories are built to publish data. So we are. Our restriction is really fair data, so should be described with metadata and so on. And fair doesn't mean open. People can specify that those data should be publicly available after 6 weeks, 6 months. We will have repositories of sensitive data. And so again, anyone can apply for access, but not anyone will get the access. And more or less the same applies for computational resources. Even now, anyone can apply for account on infra and can get it, but our government will be really surprised if 2/3 of our resources is used by Germans or Poland. So yeah, we will prefer Czech users, but we even now allow their collaborators from Europe or across the world. So yeah, they can apply, they can get access, but usually it's associated with some national project or national PI in international project, in international collaboration.
Do you think it's possible that someone totally external to Czech Republic comes to your infrastructure because it's part of EOSC? Let's say Anka. Anka needs storage, right? She has lots of data.
We have users which are currently from abroad because they are willing to use our Galaxy or Jupyter notebook, and if we agree that they really need our instance, yes, but it's minority. So this is nothing problematic for us.
Thank you very much, and thank you all. We reached the end of our session. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your participation. In case of any questions that comes to your mind later, you've seen the faces, you can chase them. Thank you.